I'm Zach Long, and welcome to the Launchpad. Today on this album review podcast, I will be digging into the new Slipknot record and sharing my quick thoughts on each track. From what I could gather online, it seems like the opinion of the last record, We Are Not Your Kind, was very mixed among the fan base, and some using that as further confirmation that in a studio setting, Slipknot is simply not in the same caliber as they once were with Paul and Joey in the fold. Personally, I like the 2019 record, but I did not love it as much as, say, Volume 3, Self-Titled, or All Hope Is Gone. It had moments that really resonated with me, and a few other tracks that seemed to fall flat. So fingers crossed that this one will be a much better step forward. And as always, rest in peace to Joey and Paul. Track 1, Adderall. Wow. Okay, the God's honest truth is I have never ever used the tired cliche line among Slipknot fans of, "This is just a leftover Stone Sour song." Not once in my life. That is, until now. No Slipknot fan in their right mind can say this is not a song that belongs on the House of Golden Bones record. It's a very good, laid-back rock track, but I'm truly baffled that it's the first track on the record. Personally, I love when artists flex diversity in their work, with my favorite all-time band, 9 Inch Nails, being a prime example of this. But god damn, this is simply out of left field from anything I was expecting. The synthesizer work in the intro is really cool, and the driving bass line is as funky as Bootsy Collins and his star-shaped shades. And I dig it, I do. But why in the hell did they think this was a good idea to lead off on a Slipknot record? If anything, this should be mixed somewhere in the middle. I can imagine it now. Some hardcore, tatted up, pissed off maggot puts on the CD or vinyl edition, hears this on track 1, and immediately takes off the record and smashes it to smithereens. Get ready, folks, because people will be bitching up a storm about this one. I like it, but in a more 70s classic rock sense. And it's in my humble opinion that it's not fitting to lead off any of Slipknot's releases. Track 2, The Dying Song. Sonically, there's a lot to like about this one. It feels familiar yet effective, without being too much of a retread on old material. It's heavy, yet has catchy hooks, and some of the lyrics are pretty clever. In terms of vibe and tone, it firmly grounds the record back into Slipknot territory. It's not anywhere near my top 20 Slipknot songs or anything, but I think it's very worthy of being a single based on the bases it covers. Heavy, catchy, and it seems to get better with each and every listen. This one gets a solid thumbs up from me. Track 3, The Chapleton Rag. Some of the lyrics here I can get behind with its touching on cultural criticism, and they are very well placed until the chorus hits. And that's where it really fails to grab me and turns out to be pretty forgettable. Historically speaking, the chorus of Slipknot tracks tends to hold the most juice. For example, Before I Forget, Psychosocial, etc. But here, it seems like something slapped together at the last moment. Musically, it's also something that really doesn't have any moments that jump out. I hate to say it, but it's something that sounds to me like it could come off just about any other heavy metal release this year, if not for the unmistakable voice of Corey Taylor. For a song that is released as a single, it leaves a lot left to be desired, and the best musical aspect of it for me was the drum work, so shout out to Mr. J. Weinberg. Track 4, Yen. Corey Taylor's smooth vocals in the opening verses are well sung and executed, although this type of vocalization is often a target for Slipknot purists who will immediately scream Stone Sour. There is a cool, sinister groove that kicks in, and after some atmospheric industrial elements and DJ scratches, it had me totally on board. Until the chorus, where once again, it lost me, with lackluster lyrics, tamer than usual screams from Corey, and what sounds to me like a stagnant sonic wasteland. In my view, the sung moments are actually the strong suit of this track. The biggest highlight being the melodic breakdown, which starts at the line, "I wish this pain would last forever," before returning to the plain Jane chorus that sort of alludes to self-harm and self-destruction a few too many times for my taste. I'm torn on this one because there are moments I really do enjoy, and I'm not the type of Slipknot fan who instantly hates anything that's sung instead of screamed. But in a weird way, it feels like two different songs they just decided to jam together. Track 5, Hive Mind. Some weird but sweet programming samples lead us into this track before a typical chug riff ramps up, while accented with Clown's trademark metal keg hits. This is the first track that immediately felt like home base for me. It touches on all the familiar landmarks that a fan would expect from Slipknot, and up until this point on the record, it showcases Corey's best screams and vocal tones. And it also has an infectious chorus that seems to grow on me more with each and every listen. I can definitely see this one being a live staple on the next set of tour dates, and it's in the mix for my tops off this record. Solid jam all around. Track 6, Warranty. This song is a very strange one for me. It has a few elements that I like, but it's missing something that I can't exactly place. Maybe it's a case of feeling like I've already heard this song, and it rubs elbows too much with territory Slipknot's already covered. The chorus leaves me wanting more, and not in a good way. It feels very underdeveloped and rushed, as if Corey wrote it in 10 minutes without any sort of revisions. The rhythm section is tight, and I respect that a lot on this one, so shout out to V-Man and Jay. But if one were to strip away the vocals and just listen to the instrumental track, you would swear you've already heard this song before. I'm not sure if I should be critical of it in terms of Slipknot resting on their laurels and trying too hard to sound like the old records, or if I should be blasting them for simply running on empty in terms of ideas. But I played it 5 times in a row, trying to find a redeemable quality in this song, and I'm not trying to sound too harsh here just to be some cool guy critic like that douchebag Anthony Fantano. However, I honestly can say I never have to hear this song ever again. For me, it's a filler, throwaway track, nothing more. So, moving on. Track 7, Medicine for the Dead. The initial atmospheric, percolating, old-school sci-fi sample in this intro makes me think of killer clowns from outer space. I know it's goofy, don't ask me why. And that hits before giving way to the powerhouse riff kicking into full gear. That part I enjoy greatly, but that's about it. The only other thing I like about this track is the really noteworthy guttural screams that Corey peppers in throughout this song, which are really well done, no doubt about it. Top-notch stuff. But lyrically, it feels extremely plain, and the chorus flat out sucks. Possibly the worst I've ever heard in a Slipknot song, or at least no other lesser ones come to mind right now. Corey revealed that this song is for people that struggle with various forms of depression, and I commend him for putting pen to paper on such an important topic as that. But good intentions don't mean good songs. I'm truly worried about the last handful of tracks here. We've all been waiting for a few years for this new record, and so far, it's very underwhelming. I'm hoping with every fiber in my being that I can get at least one true banger that I can play on repeat for days. And so far, this album doesn't really contain one, except perhaps for Hive Mind. Track 8, Acidic. Before the album released, Jay Weinberg alluded to a blues metal song on the forthcoming album, and this, my friends, is it. Corey Taylor went on to say that this song is a tribute to a band he enjoys, Acid Bath. So if you haven't heard of them, give them a few listens and see what you think. But getting back to this track, I'm scratching my head right now. I have no clue what the fuck is going on. I'm okay with tributes to other bands and such, but come on guys, at this point this is just fucking absurd. I'm sorry to sound like a pissed off old man right now, and maybe it's my fault for expecting too much. I briefly met Corey Taylor last December at Steel City Con in Pittsburgh, and I had a few moments to talk with him while getting a photo taken, and eventually got picked to ask him another question during the Q&A. Something I asked before our photo got snapped was his impressions of what the new Slipknot record would contain. He straight up said to me, "It's some of the best and heaviest we've ever done." well, he'll forever remain among my rock and roll heavy metal heroes. But I just feel like saying, what the fuck happened, dude? Did the direction of the album change halfway through its creation? Or was he just saying something quickly to brush me off? Who knows? But this track is a prime example of why many folks think this band has completely fallen off a cliff since Point 5 The Grey Chapter. Personally, once again, I'll say I did find a lot of solid tracks on We Are Not Your Kind, while a few others definitely fell flat. And ultimately, I felt that it was probably their weakest album overall, maybe in the running with The Grey Chapter. One can make an argument either way. But it still deserved to be made in my view, and I'm proud to own that record. For example, Not Long for This World was awesome. Spiders was really different and experimental, but still kicked ass. And I'm not some fair-weathered fan that expects Slipknot to stay in the same box as just simply trying to recreate Iowa or Volume 3 over and over. However, barring a dramatic shift on the last 4 tracks, I'm having a hard time rationalizing why they would even bother putting half of these songs out. They feel rushed, unfinished, and as if they took 2 opposing ideas and just jammed them together for the pure hell of it. And as this track's final lyrics go, I'm living in a dead man's shoes. Well, if by that you mean using the Slipknot brand that Paul, Joey, and Clown painstakingly started, and taking that and turning it into selling a collection of lackluster tracks to one of the most loyal fan bases in rock and roll history, then yeah, we can say that's fitting. I'm absolutely repulsed by this song. Take tracks 7 and 8 and immediately flush them down the fucking toilet. Track 9, Heirloom. Corey Taylor has stated the following about this track. This is from the standpoint of a survivor of domestic abuse, whether it's someone younger or in a relationship. It's about getting through those situations and wondering if any of that has stuck to them. Once again, noble intentions, yet it translates to nothing more than a forgettable, throwaway track. I truly hate saying this about a band I love and respect, but for God or Satan's sake, this song feels like a demo that they just chalked up to the finished pile and moved on with their lives. As some of you may know, when Paul was alive, he was the final say on if a track made it to the record or not. If Paul did not like it, it was not included, point blank. And I have never had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Paul Gray, the legend himself, but I have no doubt in my mind he would not have let this song come within 50 feet of a finished Slipknot record. This one, it sucks too. Track 10, H377, which is probably just some weird stand-in for hell. At this point into my first listen to this album and taking notes on my thoughts, I literally had to take a break and listen to something else for about 20 minutes. Tracks 6, 7, 8, and 9 really left a bad taste in my mouth, especially when listening to them all back to back. I'm still hoping that one of these final 3 reel me in and give me something to sink my teeth into, but so far, things seem to have hit a dry spell that leaves me praying for rain. So here I go, track 10. Corey Taylor's screams on this one are as intense as you will find on this entire record, and I really appreciate that aspect of it. Musically, this track overall is arguably the heaviest on the entire album, and I'm glad to see that sinister, kick-in-the-teeth attitude flare back up after the forgettable sludge of the last few songs. This is the type of material I was expecting. Thunderous drums, a cyclone of down-tuned, battle-ready guitar work, and yet it still does not make the grade. The lyrics and chorus both are really underdeveloped, and if you don't believe me or think I'm wrong about that, just read the lyrics out loud to yourself and you'll see exactly what I mean. This one is okay, I guess, thanks to the pure, unrelenting heaviness of the music and the top-notch screams, but it leaves so much potential on the table that I feel like if more time and seasoning was applied to the lyrics, this one could have really been something special. But instead, it's lukewarm at best. Track 11, Sade. Now, this jam is a dark ballad of sorts, which is more sung than screamed, and I'm okay with that. Even though this track lacks a lot of the violence of a track like AOV or Purity, not everything has to be so intense it makes you deaf with bloody ears. Although, us metalheads can get behind that sometimes. I will say though, it's nowhere near the dark ballads of the past. such as Snuff, Danger, Keep Away, Vermilion Part 2, etc. It's still a pretty good one, and it is a track that I feel is well deserving of a place on this record. If you could only feel the sense of relief coursing through me right now, I truly was sweating bullets at the thought of having to write more unflattering things about this record. I hate doing that about bands I adore, but I have to be objective regardless of past loyalties. The guitar work on this one deserves a big round of applause here, and it alone caused me to immediately hit replay on this track after it was over. It contains dueling guitar solos from Mick and Jim, which I think this record could certainly have used a hell of a lot more of. Once again, it's not up there in terms of Slipknot ballads, quote unquote, with Snuff or Circle or anything like that, Till We Die, but it's still a good one. If you're the type of fan who just hates all those kind of slower ballady type songs from Slipknot, you're gonna hate this one too, but if you like those ones, you'll probably find something you like on this one. And lastly, track 12, Finale. My God. Did you ever want to hear a violin in a church vocal choir on a Slipknot song? Well, you are about to when you listen to this one. It's hard to even continue making a write-up about this song. Besides a few cool guitar lines, it's total junk. You'd be better off listening to Enya or Josh Groban or whoever the hell makes soccer mom music with violins and church hymn vocalizations nowadays. This one is utterly despicable, and Paul and Joey would probably try to fight these dudes to the death, gladiator style, over putting this foul song out. Okay, final thoughts. Prior to this album being released, Jim Root openly revealed in an interview that this record felt rushed, and Slipknot did not have the chance to sit with the songs and develop them to their fullest potential. And that's never a good sign when an artist is conceding defeat prior to an album's release, alluding to the fact that it's a lesser work than their past stuff. I honestly was shocked reading this and felt like it was a preemptive excuse for what could be a lackluster album. I wonder how that's going to go over within the group. Wrapping up my opinion on this record, I would have much preferred the band to simply put out a 5-song EP featuring track 1, Adderall, track 2, The Dying Song, track 4, Yen, track 5, Hive Mind, and finally track 11, Sade. In my opinion, that would have been a much more engaging listen, exploring a vast range of emotions, highs and lows, meshing interesting, intriguing melody with cutthroat intensity, while trimming out all the fat and filler. This is the first time in the band's history that I've truly felt like they just coasted and only tried on a handful of songs and then pieced together forgettable stuff the rest of the way, banking on the fact that many people don't listen to records front to back anymore. While it does contain a few really good songs that made my playlist and that I will be replaying time and time again, overall it feels like a huge swing and a miss when listening to it in its entirety. And I would rather wait 5 years for the next album if it meant they were more developed and carefully crafted songs. To give this album a rating, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to go like a 4 out of 10. By far the worst Slipknot album ever. At least I can attest to recently catching them live that they still put on a hell of a concert, and if you have not got the chance to attend a Slipknot show, I would highly recommend it. It is truly an awesome experience. I will always love this band and support them, but this record honestly was a tough listen. Please let me know your thoughts on the album in the comments below, regardless if you agree or disagree with my assessment, as I'm truly hoping I've just lost my damn mind and it's not nearly as awful as I think. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and long live the knot.